Hey folks, Chris Naugle, America's #1 money mentor. Today I'm going to take you behind the scenes of me working with a client to solve his money problem. And his money problem is debt. And what you're going to see is you're going to see how we use the money multiplier method to solve this money problem and how we do it in a fraction of the time he thought it would take for him to pay off debt. Join us on this behind the scenes look of what we do to solve the money problem. All right, Chris, good to see you again. How did you actually hear about the money multiplier? How did this all come to be?
Well, I was having a conversation with my brother one day, and he had mentioned that he was starting an insurance policy that was gonna, bring him good returns. And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I seen the video. He finally sent it to me, and he referred me to the YouTube channel. And once I started watching, I was like, wow, I didn't even think anything like that existed.
And it's funny, it was a referral from your brother, and I hear this all the time. People see this, somebody sends it to them, they see a Facebook ad, and the first thing they always say is what you did. This can't be real. Like, there's no way this exists. That sounds too good to be true. I mean, was that what you thought?
Well, yeah. I mean, essentially, when it's beyond my shift, or something that I've never seen or heard before, you gotta kind of question it. But then, once you start diving in, you see, how these plans are beneficial and how people have been using them for years and upon years. It kind of strikes like, okay, maybe there's something to this. Let's dive in a little deeper.
I remember, and I came from the financial world. I came from the insurance and the financial world, and I remember sitting in that cheesecake factory with Mike. And Mike was one of my private lenders who lent me money, and he's talking about this vehicle that he uses to lend money to me and to other people, and this vehicle that he uses for all of his real estate. And he starts explaining it to me, and instantly I'm like, Mike, dude, are you talking about a whole life insurance policy? He's like, yeah, that's what it is. And I'm like, well, all right, listen, like, they don't work that way. The way you just described it, that's not how they work. And he looks me dead in the eye. He looks at me and he says, if this isn't how they work, then how have I been lending you all this money on those deals? Because this is what I've been using, and it works exactly how I explained it. But I'm not the expert, so if you want to learn more about how and what it does, call this guy Brent, and he'll explain it because he's the one that helped me. And that was how I heard about it. Now, how is it that I was an advisor at that point for 14 years at a high level, and I'd never heard about this? Which is the same reason why you were probably saying, how is it that I've never heard about this? But now the cat's out of the bag. It's not too good to be true. And when you dove into it, did you do some research? Did you do some background to figure out is this real?
I did. I started searching around. I started doing Google searches about different policies. I actually read a couple books, and when it got to the insurance policy part, I just kind of I don't want no insurance, and then I went back and I was like, that's what they were talking about. I was like, oh my God. It was such a slap in the face because it was it was right there, but I missed it. I was like, no, it's short. I don't need that right now. It definitely was an eye opener once I realized the information that I bypassed. Wow.
It's interesting that you said that because every person I speak to, we speak to thousands of people, but everyone I speak to, they say the same thing. I don't want a life insurance policy. What does this life insurance policy have to do with me building my wealth? But that's just because everything we've been taught in our lives has been against this. You hear the gurus saying, oh, whole life's the worst place you can put your money. Whole life's the worst investment. And I always tell people, I say, you know what? Whole life is the worst investment because it's not an investment at all. It's a guaranteed place to put your money. And the other thing, too, that's funny about all the people that are out there saying, kind of what you did, where I don't want any whole life, is now that you know what it is and how it can work, you understand. But prior to that, you had this misconception of what a whole life policy can actually do. Because when you think of whole life, you think this is money for somebody else when I die, not money for me while I'm living. And the one thing that the money multiplier does and the infinite banking concept does is it literally takes a vehicle that most people think is one of the worst places to put money, and it uses it in a completely different way than anyone's ever been taught to use it, which is kind of what we're going to dive into today. And, you know, I really want to spend some time learning about what your goals are, you know, what are some of your money problems. We talk about money consciousness a lot, but we also talk a lot about what is the money problem. So let's dive right in. Like, what I'm going to do is, as you kind of tell me your different things that you've got going on in your life, I'm just going to basically take some notes and I'm going to write them down and understand a little bit more about what you're trying to do and see if this system, the money multiplier, will solve your problems and solve your goals. Sound good? All right. Well, let's start with what would be the main objective? Like, what is the main thing? When you saw that video, when you saw the video the first time and you got done with it, you probably had like an aha moment, but you had lots of questions, right?
Yeah.
So what was one of the biggest questions you had after you watched the video?
How do I get this started, and who do I talk to get it started?
How do I get this started? All right, perfect. Well, yeah, that's great. I mean, because it was moving. I remember when I first saw it, I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't even wait. I almost didn't even get through the whole video. I'm like, all right, who do I call? Where do I call? What do I do? And same idea. But what would be the main objective? Like, what do you want this system to do for you?
All right. So when I originally started, the whole investment, part of my life, I started a business. I invested in one of the real estate, companies. I spent the initial investment. I started an LLC. I started playing the market, but I didn't have any capital, and I was in debt. So it was like, all right, I was in more debt because of the initial investment. And I said, you know what, one thing at a time. I had all these coaches calling me at one time. Coach for this, for the business, a coach for the marketing, a coach for this, that, and the third. And it was just too much to handle with my regular 9 to 5, of course, with all the debt, piling up. So I said, let me clear my debt. And I was successful in doing that. Then I picked back up to the business, to my business, CTU Homes. And I noticed that once I paid off my debt, my credit score dropped. And I'm like, well, they said that I don't have any outstanding debt anymore. I'm like, isn't that something? So then I started acquiring debt in order to fund my real estate venture, my business. And in the interim, I came across the infinite banking system. I said, you know what? Instead of that capital going straight to the business, to the asset, let me pay myself first and then pay it out from there. So it was just like one of those aha moments where I'm, I saved all this money up. I'm raising capital, and I'm trying to do like a big shift here. So now I want to shift into the investment portion of my business. And that's acquiring assets, of course, but paying off my debt first.
So basically, when you saw the video, you saw and found what looked to be a better way to pay off your debt. So you had got into real estate through this education program, and I did the same thing. I remember, I'll never forget that 3-day seminar in 2014. Same thing, right? You look at you laugh. You sit down there and you're like, all right, what are they going to sell me? Sure enough, they sell you something, and then you're like, okay, well, that first investment, mine was $24,000. And then after that first 24, you're like, all right, this is going to give me everything I need. Nope, then you got the mentors, then you got the coaches, and you got everything else, and it's just swipe the card. Sound familiar?
Yeah, it was bad. I was like, yeah, this wasn't the smartest move, with where I was at. But I made the commitment, and I haven't given up that drive. I haven't given up that goal of making passive income. So that's pretty much the ultimate goal: passive income, replace the 9 to 5, and just be able to live off passive income.
All right. So let's start with the initial goal, which is basically we want to let's pay off debt, because that's the first thing. We've got some debt from the business, from the real estate that we've acquired. So the first thing I want to do is I want to really focus on that goal, paying off debt. All right, so we're going to pay off debt, but tell me a little bit more. What do you do right now? What do you do for a living?
I work for an electric company. I work as an overhead troubleshooter. Yeah. So I've been doing that for I've been working at the company for 15 years. But it's one of those things where, you don't want to do it forever, and that's why I got, involved with real estate and trying to, supplement that income, just kind of get out of that field.
So do you want to get out of the field because it's dangerous, or just because you're looking to add additional income onto what you're doing? Like, what's the end goal for you?
Well, I love what I do. I recognize it is a dangerous field, but I know that eventually, when I get into my older ages, I won't be able to sustain it. So eventually, yes, I want to supplement the exact income that I'm receiving at that point, and just be able to say, you know what, I know when my time's up.
Fantastic. Well, let's dive into the debt, since that's one of the biggest goals that we want to solve here. So tell me a little bit about your debt structure. Like, what debts do we want to pay off here?
Okay, so the main one is the 401k. The 401k loan that I took out. That was a consolidation of my student loan debt. So I went through several, videos and, courses that said, instead of paying, the bank interest, why not pay yourself back? And this is kind of where I got your concept too. It's like, oh, that kind of makes sense. I've already done it before. And so I took the loan out from my 401k and I dropped it all on the student loan debt. And then now I'm paying myself back the 3.75% interest. But I would like to free up that money. That's retirement money that could be growing, and I can do other things with that, marriage, things like that.
Uh-oh, get married, huh?
Yeah, we're looking at it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to talk about that. Show you how to get all the money back for all that wedding expense you're going to have. All right. So back to the 401k loan. Tell me, so you used it to consolidate all of your student loans. So that's interesting, because there's a lot of people don't even realize that they can take loans from their 401k and pay themselves back with interest. But you figured that out. So you were already actually kind of already on your way to understanding the whole idea of borrowing and then paying yourself back with interest. So that was a huge step up. Not many people understand that.
That's why I was so in tune when I saw your video. I was like, oh, it makes sense.
All right. So how much is the 401k loan?
Right now it's about roughly $31,000.
Okay, so $31,000. All right. And how much per month do you pay to repay that balance?
I'm sorry, 31,700. So right now I pay weekly, but we're gonna do monthly. So monthly I pay about $592 a month. That's with the interest. That's plus, that's everything including.
And how much interest do they charge on that?
That's 3.75%.
Okay. But that 3.75%, you actually are paying yourself back with interest right there. Perfect. All right, so our first debt is $31,700. And how long would it take you paying $592 a month to pay that back?
5 years.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about the next debt. What's the next one we want to pay off?
Next one is a personal loan debt. I took out a personal loan just because, they told me that I need to have some type of loan installment payments. I was going to use that to buy a car. So I took out that loan that was for $27,000, and was at 4.99%. And it's at $509 a month for 60 months.
509, correct?
Yes.
And that's a 5-year loan?
That was a 5-year loan.
Okay. All right. Any more debts?
That is it, man. At this time, I have a line of credit that I just got approved for and is funded now, but I haven't withdrawn from it. So
But I mean, you're going to, right? We're going to use that money for something.
I definitely want to use it because it's just sitting there. So if I do use that, it's a $30,000 line of credit.
So just an unsecured line? Is it a home equity line?
I can use it, pay it back, use it up to 10 years. And if I were to draw, I think if I were to draw the whole $30,000, it would be about $600 a month over the 10-year span. So at 8.25%.
All right. So we've got a line of credit, a personal loan, and a 401k loan. All right, well, let's total these up. So what do we got? We got 31.7 plus 27. So let's see. So we got 31.7, and that was the 401k. Got a personal loan for 27. You said 27.5? No, 27,000. All right, and then we've got that line of credit for 30,000. So we have a balance that we want to pay off of $88,700. Okay, not terrible, but more than you probably want, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And to pay that off, if I just look at it, we're really looking at about 5 years. But I mean, how long do you want it to take to pay all this debt off?
As little as time as possible.
Okay. So goal, pay off fast. So if we initially have 5 years plus, let's see if we can't beat 5 years once we get into this. Okay, so we've got our debt structure. Now let's talk a little bit about your income. So tell me about, your job, like what is your income? Break it down monthly and yearly.
So my income right now, I would say monthly would be about $6,800.
And then, so 6,800 annually would be about 81,600 bucks.
And that's conservative. I went conservative with the numbers because we have a lot of built-in overtime and premium time. So I kind of went a little below what I would normally get. So it's like, I have a little cushion there. But that's the numbers we want to go with.
I'd much rather you go low than high, because if you go high, then something doesn't happen right. Then all of a sudden, we're changing things. So it's always better to go, with the lower numbers. Okay, so I'll just make a note that these are conservative numbers. All right, now let's talk a little bit about your expenses. So what I want to do, I always like to put expenses in red, and we're going to make them just a little bit bigger than the income, because this is the part that people hate. All right, well, let's walk through what expenses do you have. So we got your debts, we got your income. Now let's talk a little bit about those pesky bills that you got to pay every single month, because one of the most important things that we do is we show people how to build wealth through their own debts and expenses. First off, like a lot of people think to build wealth, they have to go out and they have to work harder, work longer, get their promotions, get their bonuses. That's just what we're taught to do. But one of the things I learned from some of the most successful, wealthiest individuals was the best way to build wealth is to take back the money that you're giving away to everybody else. Already, we've identified in your debts that we're giving away $509 a month, but that's to a personal loan. We're giving away roughly $600 a month to that line of credit that you just got. And $592 a month is essentially going back into your 401k, but that's still cash flow. So now what we really want to focus on is we want to focus on what other money is going out the door every month, and what that out of the money that you're spending, is there any of that we can claw back and add back? Because one of the things that's more fun is you're writing those checks whether you like it or not for all those debts. It'd be way more fun if you got to write those checks to yourself, right?
Yeah, I would love that.
Well, let's dive in. So walk me through your expenses.
So right now I just have the basic expenses, the rent, the car insurance, the internet, cell phone, subscriptions, food, gas, things like that. There's other monetary expenses, but these are the basics here. My car is fully paid for. Besides the other debts that I have, I mean, my expenses are pretty much bare minimum.
Okay, so let's go from the top. How much is your rent per month?
It's $817. Car insurance is about $202 a month.
Okay. Internet?
Yes, that's my business internet is about $110. That just went up.
How about those subscriptions? I would assume that's like Netflix, Hulu, and all those things.
Yeah, because I'm completely disconnected with the cable. So the subscriptions are the music for Google. There's the Netflix, Hulu's included with my cell phone, and I think there's one other one that I can't remember.
Okay. So what are all those subscriptions that you got on a monthly basis?
About $33.
33? That's not too bad. All right. How about food? You're on the road a lot, so what are you spending in food per month?
Well, I actually try to cook as much as I can. So $410 is about a good monthly bill for food.
Okay. And then we'll do a miscellaneous for everything else. What would that be?
Like for gas, $120, and then I paid child support at about $468.
You said 468? Okay. But the 468 was already taken out of the other number, correct?
Yes, that's a weekly garnish, so it comes out automatically.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little star next to that because we've already got that taken out of your income. So miscellaneous, we'll just put down for gas. So our total for expenses would be roughly about $1,899 a month, if that's correct. Is that what you have?
Sounds about right. Yes.
So $1,899. So now if we just total these up and we take the $1,899 a month, so that would mean our annual expense all right, so now let's do this. Let's go in and let's figure out what you look like on paper. So we'll take your income. All right, so if we look at that, you've got income of around $6,800 a month minus your expenses, which are $1,899 a month. So you've got an extra $4,901 per month. Annually, that's $81,600 per year minus the $22,788 in expenses. That means you've got about $58,812 per year in disposable income. So right now, what do you do with that $58,000 per year?
Yeah, I stockpiled it into a checking savings account.
So just like everybody else. I was kind of thinking that, as I asked that, I'm thinking, I wonder what he does with all this extra money per month. Of course. So right now, your current plan, and I love that you're laughing about it, is a checking account.
Yeah. My checking account looks ridiculous. It's like, what are you going to do with this money?
How much does your checking account pay you in interest?
Oh, God. It's insulting to even say, but 0.02%.
0.02%. Okay, so now we got to do a little math equation here. So if inflation right now, as an average, and we did a ton of work to figure out what the average inflation was, and we found out it was 3.2%. But yet you're making, okay, we've got to give you credit because you're making, what is that, 0.02%. So if we do the math, wow, you're losing 3%. If I did that math right. So you're losing, actually it might be more than that, but you're losing 3% per year to the hidden tax called inflation. So I would almost say one thing that we've really got to focus on, because you've got a lot of disposable income that you're saving here. We've got, I'm going to circle it in big green, we've got 58,000 per year and then 4,901. So we want to make sure that some of that money's for an emergency. We want to make sure that that money can be used for opportunities in real estate, because that's good. If you're getting into real estate, we're going to want to use that money for real estate. And then we want to make sure that no matter what, we keep pace with inflation, which means we've got to make up 3% somewhere. So you watch the video, and with the money multiplier, the infinite banking concept, the specially designed and engineered whole life plans, I will tell you one thing that we're going to be able to do. So the first thing that we're going to be able to accomplish, so these are the pluses, is number one, you're going to earn a guaranteed 4% interest. And we're going to get into doing some plan designs, because now that I've got all this information, I can really figure out how to design the plans for you that are going to solve the problems. But we want to beat inflation. So 4% plus the dividend, that'll definitely beat inflation. Okay, so number two, we need to have full liquidity. You're used to having this money in a checking account, which means at any time you can write a check, you can go to your bank, you can click a button, and you've got access to your money. And I'm just going to put access and control of money. Number three, I would assume you're in a pretty high tax bracket, or you're getting there.
Yeah, I am.
So probably want to try to have some tax advantages for this. What would be some other things that would be really important that you'd want your money to do for you?
Rate of return. I mean, return on investment, cash on cash, whether it be, lending to my business or to other businesses, definitely producing some kind of return.
Okay. So cash on cash return. So essentially we want to make a return on our money. Okay. All right. So the 4% guarantee is going to keep pace with inflation and give you a return, but that you don't get super excited. I mean, 4% is way better than, what was it, 0.02, but do you get really, really fired up and excited about 4%?
Absolutely. 4%.
You do. I love it. Well, one of the things I can tell you when we get into this is 4%, you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, wow, I thought that was good. Wait till you see, because the one thing that we're going to have with this plan design that we're going to do is we're going to have uninterrupted compound interest. So you're familiar with compound interest, right?
Eighth wonder of the world. Yes. Oh, yeah.
There you go. Eighth wonder of the world. Albert Einstein's eighth wonder of the world, uninterrupted compound interest. Now, the one thing that he says, and I love it, I know you know this, but he says, those who understand it earn it. Those who don't, pay it. So right now, you understand it, but we're not earning it. All we're doing is we're paying it. So we got to switch those tides. We got to change it up. So I'm going to write down here, uninterrupted compound interest. Eighth wonder of the world. If I scroll back down to your income, if I look at your income and after all your expenses, after your child support and the 401k deductions, because those automatic repayments to the 401k are automatically coming out, all the rest of that's coming out of here already. We've got an extra $58,812. Out of that, that's all going to a checking account. So with this system, you already saw from the video, all we have to do is change one thing. And that one thing that we have to change is where that money goes first. So out of the $58,812, how much do you want me to build the plan designs for the infinite banking on? So if we got 58, we want to leave a little in the checking for emergencies and things like that. But how much are you comfortable putting over to the money multiplier?
I'm looking at about 40 to 45 a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to do premium deposits, about 45,000. 45 to 50?
Yeah, 45.
Okay. And the nice thing is whether we do 40 or we do 45 or we do 50, the number that we start with will be the highest amount you'll be able to put in. So if we start with 50, that's the most you'll ever be able to put in per year. So that lines up with your numbers. But at any time, let's just say I don't see your business ever having a period where you're going to be out of work or laid off. But some people have jobs that sometimes fluctuate, whether it's commission or, right now a lot of people are laid off or furloughed. So if that ever happens, we need to make sure that we have the ability to reduce the amount that you're putting in. So if we build a plan at 50, we're going to have the ability to reduce that down by, it's going to depend on the plan design, but let's just call it roughly 60%. So we can always reduce that down by 60%. So if we design the plans the way we normally do, okay, for these banking policies, and we do it on 50,000, 50 will be your ceiling. That'll be the most you can ever put in there. And you'll have the ability after the first year to reduce that down by up to 60%. Would that be comfortable for you? So you could reduce down to 20,000. So you got a nice range, 20 to 50. Would that be a comfortable number?
Yeah, that'd be comfortable.
Okay. So what I'm going to do now is, because I have all the data that I need from you, so I now can go back and I can design these plans. Now I'm going to design probably 4 different designs, because what we want to do is see which design will solve your problem. And your problem right now, the immediate problem, is we want to pay off the debt. We don't want to give everybody else your money. We want to pay yourself. You want to be the bank. So that's what I'm going to do next. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just jump on another call and we're going to go through and run all 4 of those plan designs and really look at which one makes sense.